Kamala, you're fired. Get out.
And the trash's name is Kamala Harris.
We made it, you guys. We did it. We got here. This is it. This is the night. Settle in.
10 hours of coverage cramped into half an hour. Meltdown City. Who do they blame? You'll see. Subscribe. It's the only thing I care about.
While the other candidate, at the end of his campaign, he was unable to fill arenas in
Right.
his final week.
Nobody went.
It has
Nobody
been
went.
a strange and in many ways unprecedented campaign.
Yes, we're doing great. Kamala la la.
I was going to ask who you're going to vote for, but I didn't need to.
Kamala la la. Because lives matter.
First time vote.
Contrast in the closing days is just been so profound, and being willing to do the work herself, of humbly asking people to vote for them. That I think we'll find out if there's still power in the humility of asking for people's votes.
If this is an audition for managing a complex organization like the United States,
Yeah.
Kamala Harris has passed the audition flawlessly.
Flawless.
This has been, in many
Stellar.
ways, a perfect campaign. A
Perfect.
brief, and she had barely any time to put it together. But just as a managerial matter, it's been brilliantly done.
Brilliant.
That you just don't see on the other side. On the other side, you're seeing Charlie Kirk, to whom
Who's
the
that?
Trump campaign outsourced the parts of its ground game they didn't give to Elon Musk, going on X Twitter this morning and begging people to vote.
Well, that's not
so
gonna
their
work.
ground game is to go on Twitter and beg people to vote, or X, whatever they're calling it now.
X, whatever they call
Whereas
it.
the Harris campaign's ground game is literally multiple taps at each door. They're going back to people, texting, calling,
That'll
going
work.
to the door. Do you need a ride? It's like what Obama did. It's
need a ride.
numerous touches on voters who don't vote that often, because that's who this ground game is for.
They saw Donald Trump demeaning people, hosting misogynist hate gatherings,
Trump
talking
bad.
about murdering innocent Americans who happen to be journalists, which is his special extra problem, people who can hold him to account. And they saw something very different from the closing campaign of Harris, which is...
I voted for Harris.
Yeah, I also.
Well, it didn't work.
I've heard the Philly turnout is higher than they expected in a good way for the Harris team.
Look, I'm hearing the turnout is high, the lines are long, the Democrats are very
Trump.
encouraged by what they're seeing specifically from college campuses. That's important. Those students at those schools, they could flip a congressional district. They could be the difference between the
Right.
Democrat winning that race or the Republican, and definitely turn out for Vice President Kamala Harris. So folks feel
Absolutely.
good.
I think they're cautiously optimistic about a state that I'm going to keep my eyes on, and that's Texas. Feel pretty good about Bob Casey in Pennsylvania.
The feeling is he's going to pick up North Carolina.
You're in for a shock.
You know, Michael Steele mentioned the quiet vote, the notion that women are going into the booth and pulling a lever that's different from the lever their husbands are pulling, and what married women are going to do. Because traditionally married white women have given their votes to
women.
Trump in the last two election cycles. Does abortion change that calculation?
Abortion is beautiful. White women are going to turn this election around for them.
In many ways, maybe even determine the outcome of the election, how women
Absolutely.
see each other in each other's shoes.
There, NBC News projects that Donald Trump has won the presidential election in Kentucky.
It's over.
Moving, Kamala Harris has won the presidential race in the great state of Vermont. Donald Trump has won in the state of Indiana.
But the last week has been a very good close for Kamala Harris, not a good close for Donald Trump. He hasn't been able to fill the rallies. He's addled. He has racist comedians opening up. Whatever.
Racist.
It's been a
Kill
trashy
Tony.
week for Donald Trump. It's
Tony
been a very
Hinchcliffe.
strong addled. He has racist comedians opening up. Whatever.
Racist
It's been a trashy
comedians.
week for Donald Trump. It's been a very strong week for Kamala Harris.
Donald Trump has to win North Carolina in order to be president. If Kamala
does he?
Harris can pull this off, which I think she can,
Oh,
she will
think
be
again.
the next president of the United States.
Wrong.
Points out the flawlessness with Kamala Harris has held together the full range of the Democratic coalition.
In West Virginia, Donald Trump is the winner.
A while ago, we were talking to two guys. One of them said that he was on the fence until he said when Kamala did not go on the Joe Rogan podcast, that was what influenced his vote. He ended up voting for Trump, but he said that he was open to listening to Kamala on the podcast, and when she didn't, again, not necessarily all the issues, but the fact that
That's
he
the
said
issue.
she didn't seem like a real person because she couldn't talk for an extended period of time.
I knew it.
It's just Donald Trump has won the state of Florida.
Damn tootin' rootin'.
And this projects that Kamala Harris has won the state of Massachusetts, projecting Donald Trump to be the winner in Tennessee.
Get out of my way.
And Vice President Kamala Harris Donald Trump projected to win the presidential race in the state of Missouri. Alabama is Donald Trump. Oklahoma is Donald Trump. The winner is Vice President Kamala Harris. Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democrat, right now at 27 electoral votes, and Donald Trump at 90 electoral votes. That the winner of the presidential contest in Arkansas will be Donald Trump. In Delaware, Vice President
We
Kamala
don't need
Harris.
it.
That there were 4 non-credible bomb threats that were
From who?
And officials have attributed these things to Russian origin. Interestingly,
Russia, of
in
course.
Arizona, they're saying that.
I'm just going to give a couple of everybody take a breath warnings here. I'm just going to remind people is that these college towns voting, as people are talking about long lines in these college towns, that is a huge deal for the Harris team. Because
Harris
remember
voters.
that there are big long lines in these college towns, which I don't know that we would have all predicted that just a couple of months
She's going to
ago.
pull it out.
Interesting.
Harris is going to pull it out.
It's a very, very close race. that right now, it looks like the public polling, broadly speaking, that this was a very close race, is broadly at 851, based on the data we have, about what we're seeing so far. We are seeing signs of...
You are just joining us right this second at 8:52:06, and I had to summarize what's going on. No surprises.
Yeah.
No
Pretty much that's
surprises.
what's happened thus far. There's been no surprising result anywhere, I don't think.
Same old, same old.
Now that
And very encouraged, like in all of the other battleground states, about what they're seeing
Yep,
on the
every
college
single one.
campuses. Those cities with large college campuses, the college students, they are in formation.
And that's going to matter.
And that is going to matter.
Oh, it's going to matter,
Maria
guys.
Teresa, we have some
gonna matter.
national. I was in Reading, Pennsylvania over the weekend, knocking on doors, and I could share with you the folks that we were able to talk to. Most of them had already voted, and they voted for Harris because that is very much a union town, and people were very upset. Not so much supporting Kamala Harris, but really upset at the Madison Square Garden comments.
Looks like the joke worked.
The Harris campaign has spent close to $400 million just in Pennsylvania.
That was dumb.
They understand that that's the holy grail, and between the Latino
of
vote
money.
and I do.
That people need to just calm down. When you're running against history, guess what? That's a hard hill to climb. And I think there's a lot more game out there. So just relax.
So much game,
Everybody
guys.
simmer
Relax.
down. That's the
Simmer
message
down.
from the
We got
Insider
this.
Studio. Back to you guys.
We got
In the
this.
names.
that Donald Trump has won in the great state of Texas.
Yeehaw!
In North Dakota, the winner is Donald Trump. In South Dakota, the winner is Donald Trump. NBC News also projects
Calm down, guys.
a winner
We got
in the
this.
Wyoming
We
presidential
got this.
race. We've now got Donald Trump standing at 154 electoral votes, Kamala Harris at 30 electoral votes.
But they got this.
Looking in the Rhode Island presidential contest, Kamala Harris is projected to win in Mississippi. That the winner of the presidential contest is Donald Trump. NBC News can also project in Louisiana that the winner of the presidential contest is Donald Trump. We do also have reports of new bomb threats at polling sites in Pennsylvania.
And for kids watching for the first time election results, they should know that we never had bomb threats before Donald Trump became a presidential candidate.
We never had wacko lefties like we do now, kids.
Kamala Harris has won the presidential race in the great state of New York.
Don't need it.
Democratic candidate Vice President Kamala Harris has won the presidential contest in Illinois.
But there could be voters who vote for Trump, Gallego, and the abortion protection ballot initiative. And
How?
that bends the mind, there's other ways to describe it, but that's my most diplomatic way. Because how can you vote for Trump, Gallego, and the abortion
How
ballot
can it
initiative?
be?
It's similar to Florida. We know where the public stands on abortion rights. And that makes us assume that they would all vote against Trump. And we just don't know that at this point in time.
Exactly. Regardless of what happens with the presidential, we are seeing a sort of a splatter painting in terms of the way the voters are plotting the valence of their politics here. Donald Trump is projected to be the winner in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, he is.
Again, no surprise. If Kamala Harris wins Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, she gets 270, she wins the presidency. And so when we are talking about this being a tight race, it isn't just a tight race in each of these individual swing states. It's a tight race, it's a tight race, it's a tight race. Even once we start to get first swings in Kansas is Donald Trump. It's Claire McCaskill. I'm bringing you in here because I understand you've maybe got some intel out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I've talked to folks on the ground that have been running these Senate campaigns.
Boots on the ground.
Namely in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And
Harris
they all
got
feel
that.
good about
They
those
feel
Senate
good.
races. Everybody's feeling really good about. And I'll tell you one other thing that people are feeling really good about, Rachel,
Cracker Jack.
and that is what they're seeing on college campuses. This is going to be big in Pennsylvania.
It's
It's
gonna
going
be
to be big in Michigan. It's going to be big in Wisconsin. And
Big.
everybody needs to take a deep breath. Those are the 3 states we need.
Harris has got this.
Don't have to have Georgia. Don't have to have North Carolina.
We don't need any of
We have to have
that.
those 3. And they have been surprised. The campaign has been surprised.
Shocked. Happy.
By the level of involvement on these college campuses.
How
as-
wrong
as
can you
actors in
be?
this. Very, very important. Let's pass it back
Could you
over
imagine
to
kissing that
Steve.
neck? God, you'd be sucking all night, though, wouldn't you be? She'd be like, here, 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 all over. All over. Kidding me? I'll be here for a year.
Donald Trump projected to win the presidential race in Utah.
Obviously.
NBC News also projecting a winner in the presidential race in Montana. Whew.
Donald Trump is against all the votes being counted. At least 4 years ago, that was his public position. And so I think there'll be a moment when it is very much still up in the air, when Steve is still tapping counties and we only see numbers like 34, 44, we don't have all the vote in.
It is fairly shocking. And I don't think it's something that should make us super proud. That despite all of the things that just we've seen in the last 2 weeks, even if you could somehow forget January 6th and an attempted coup to overthrow the country, even if you could forget taking classified documents and hiding them in your bathroom, even if you could set aside, which is very hard to set aside, an adjudication of sexual abuse against a woman and then 24 other allegations, and Jeffrey Epstein saying it was his best friend, you name it. You just think about just the last 2 weeks and the things that Donald Trump has said into the TV that people could hear him say and do, the vulgarity in front of families with young children, and the threats to do mass deportation and a violent start to his dictatorship on day one, and you name it. If all of
Just
that
name it. Just
gets
name
you
it.
half of the votes,
48, 49%.
what does it tell you? I mean, we need to really take a step back and think about what does that say about us?
I think that
It says that you're a lunatic. That's what that says. They voted for him because of people like you. You're the real liar. You're the real misinformation. You just heard it.
The idea that if Joe Biden said the wrong word at a certain time,
Better
or
not.
wasn't able to come up with the word he wanted to say at a certain time,
All
the
the
idea
time?
that that's worse than all the words we heard Donald Trump say, that he had no trouble retrieving from his racist thoughts about people, and to say
He's a
there's
mind
no
reader.
price for those. You won't lose a single voter. You might not gain a voter,
He's a Nazi.
but you won't lose one, no
Racist.
matter what you say. That is a new phenomenon.
That Kamala Harris has won the state of Colorado. Joy, what were you saying?
No, but you are not seeing shifts among black men.
Oh,
Please
thank
stop
God for that.
saying black men.
The
are
only
ones
area
supporting
they're-
Trump.
they're-
Donald Trump is projected to have won the presidential contest in the state of Iowa. In Nebraska. Now, as you know, in Nebraska, the electoral votes are...
One thing I will just say, I'm not trying to be rosy all the time at all, but this always happens on election nights where the bigger cities where Democrats have the bigger share of the vote come in later. And there are a lot of places, Grand Rapids, Michigan, a bigger chunk of Philly,
This is normal.
Dane County, before anybody starts drinking on their couch or whatever they need to do.
They're already doing that.
They already do. Can I add just one other thing? 'Cause we
The
talk a lot
world
about
wants him to
national
win.
security.
Kamala Harris, California.
What's wrong
native,
with California?
Is Republican Donald Trump projected to be the winner of the presidential race in Idaho.
Potato.
I mean, blue wall, baby, that was always going to be a blue wall night. And I think that, I mean, I tried to speak a little bit to some of the fantasies, right, of a landslide victory that would erase any doubt.
It was a
that would
landslide.
eradicate, you know, the
drunk?
threat of something drawn out. And that is, you know, I'm so loath to quote Don Rumsfeld with all of you, but I will anyway. I feel like Liz Cheney has made that somewhat acceptable again.
No, still not acceptable.
You go to the, you go to the polls with the country that you have, and the country we have lives in 2 totally separated information ecosystems. Whatever happens, we'll have to really understand the information consumption that young men have and why they think that the economy will be better under Donald Trump when it never was.
Yeah, it was
I think
for 4
that
years. Young
waiting
men,
for
you
these
intelligent young men,
blue
what's wrong
wall
with you?
States to come in because they're so close, because households are divided.
We're
right?
blaming
There could
young
be
men
a
now.
yard sign in a house of polls. I mean, I guess a slice of good news that the polls have accurately captured this dead heat.
Ari,
Dead heat.
Since you were last with us,
We don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, we do.
Michigan, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we do.
Which
Trump.
means if Kamala Harris wins those states, then she would be in a path to win the presidency.
President Kamala Harris has won in the state of Oregon. She's at Harris Election Night headquarters at Howard University.
Looks like fun.
Michelle, what are you seeing?
Well, the crowd here is still large, is still loud, but a little bit more subdued. And
Loud.
the word that I keep hearing, it must be some new phrase that has entered the lexicon.
Look how loud they are.
Is the idea that people here are nauseously optimistic.
They're
Was
crazy
Laphonza
loud.
Bowman,
Girls
and
gone wild
she's-
down there.
she
Look
was
at it.
speaking,
Oh, he's loud.
Thinks it doesn't look good there. But one of the interesting things she said that's echoed by a few other people that I spoke to is that the real focus now is on that blue wall in the Midwest, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and that second district in Omaha, Nebraska, that sort of blue oval at the top of the state.
Guys are going to get a noise complaint. Let's check out Trump headquarters.
Much livelier here, as you can hear. Donald Trump's favorite song, YMCA, is playing.
They're ready for a long, long night.
It's going to be a short one.
And that it was going to be a real nail biter, and it appears that that is exactly what we're looking at right now.
Not a nail biter.
Democrats believe that they have tens of thousands of votes that are outstanding from Philadelphia County. These are absentee ballots. They believe that those tens of thousands of outstanding ballots are going to make a difference.
Right.
My Pennsylvania people are telling me that the next batch is expected at 11:55. Folks in Wisconsin say they think it'll be a classic Wisconsin photo finish, but they feel good about where they are.
She's winning
they specifically
Wisconsin.
noted-
I understand has been talking to sources about
he's
the
got
results
sources,
in
too.
Michigan. What are you hearing, Michael?
What's your sources say?
It's very interesting right now that a number of the folks that I've been talking to there in Michigan, Republicans are looking a little bit, how should we say, skeptical of holding Michigan for Trump right now, looking at
Harris
some
is
of
gonna
the
win
numbers
Michigan.
that have been coming in.
Vice President Kamala Harris. NBC News can also project that we have a winner in the presidential contest in Washington, that there is a winner in Virginia, a winner in the presidential contest in North Carolina.
Suburbs, and I think we have to be blunt about why. Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not.
Blame the
That is
white
what
people.
It appears happened in that state is that if you can't flip enough white women, and we've talked about
ruining the
this
world.
on this set numerous
Those white
times,
girls.
and if people vote more, party line or more on race than on gender and on protecting their gender, there's really not much more that you can do but tell people what the risks are and leave it to them to do the right thing.
Risks.
They just went through the hurricane.
Who else can we blame?
Stuff's going to
But
explode.
working class
Working
voters
class.
are actually mad at everyone. They're mad at the system. They're mad at the establishment. And Democrats have thought in the last few years.
They're to blame. The class that matters.
And while we can all say, but Donald Trump does absolutely nothing for them, that's true from a policy perspective. But they look around and somehow still they feel connected with his personality.
Projected to be the winner in the presidential race in the state of Hawaii.
Good. I was
Right?
starting to feel
Yes,
bad
there
for
it
her.
is. In terms of the road to
We'll give her that.
270,
So you won't hear from the vice president tonight. So thank you. We believe in you. May God bless you. May God keep you. And go HU and go Harris.
But what they went to that venue tonight hoping to see and witness was a historic election of Kamala Harris to the presidency, was the end of the Trump era as they knew it. And so
Not tonight.
we don't know the outcome yet, but
Yeah, we
that
do.
is not what they are receiving. And they are being told to go home and wait till tomorrow.
Who else can we blame?
Is that poor and low-will people actually don't vote
The
for the
poor.
most part. They normally sit it out.
That's why she lost. The poor didn't vote. What about those damn aliens? They didn't vote either.
Look at all these things, do a comprehensive report, and talk about how to move forward. Because we got our butts kicked tonight, and we got to figure out how to move forward.
God,
in a
he's
way
goofy
that-
looking.
And I just think the Democrats right now have to just reckon with the fact that there's a fundamental brand problem with the party as far as not reaching like huge swaths of the country.
You know, there's a lot of stuff inside of my head that wants to rage at this, but then I really kind of went back to what I wanted
Wake
to
up,
do in
dude.
But
2010.
give me your
Look at this thing.
As you're looking
What is
at
that?
women voters, abortion rights.
The only bright spot in this entire night was that
Only?
white college-educated women We're not having it. That said, white, non-college educated women were all in. And
the dummies.
I think that, look, we're in a completely different media universe than we were in 2012 or 2010. And I think that's a really important point. We don't know where people are getting their news. And
not from you.
Steve Kornacki, I just have to jump in. And you've been predicting this. We've been waiting for it. And we do have some breaking news from the decision desk. NBC News can now project that Donald Trump has won the state of Wisconsin, which means he is the winner of this race and will return to the White House as this country's 47th president. And for so many of you watching right now, that news is, to say the least, a lot to digest. I understand that personally. After he lost 4 years ago, he refused to accept the outcome and incited a violent insurrection on our nation's capital.
Vicious.
He's campaigned while facing criminal indictments related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 results.
We love that
and
part.
He's run as a convicted felon.
Right on.
During this
That's cool.
campaign, he has also promised to essentially be an authoritarian leader.
He did?
To use power like no American president ever has before, and wield that power to go after his political enemies. This is a man who's also bragged about overturning Roe v. Wade and stripping away women's bodily autonomy. He's
Saving
promised
babies.
to conduct mass deportations to crack down on the
Get him
rights
outta
of
here.
millions of Americans. Donald Trump is an anti-democratic force, but he's just been elected democratically in our country. And here's what might be the hardest part to hear, but we have to talk about and we have to say, and it is a hard part to digest for all of us. But we have to be honest about what we saw in this election.
What?
Donald Trump was elected by expanding his support over a number of key groups that we've been digging into this night.
What's with the music?
All night tonight as we anticipated where this was headed, and I know we're going to dig into it throughout the course of the day today. And there will be a lot of time spent on how and why he won and what this will mean for the country over the next 4 years and beyond. But in this moment, it's also important to remember that our democracy is not built around one person.
She's reading from a
or
paper.
one job.
That's why they're not
and
showing
I have
her.
every confidence that pro-democracy forces in this country will continue to stand up and make their voices heard. I wish I had better news for my daughter later this morning. I mean, I know Tim Miller and I were talking about this earlier when she and so many others wake up to this news. I wish I could have called her and told her that the first woman president had just been elected.
No.
I wish that.
Well,
I won't
you
be
can't
able
do
to
it.
do that. But what I can do,
Tough
what I
kitty.
can tell my daughter, and what
What are
I
you
will
gonna tell
tell my daughter,
What?
is that our roles as American citizens have never been more important than they are right now. I can tell her that there are still lots of good forces out there, forces for good in this country, and that they are going to be getting to work.
Glad you're not my mom. I leave you guys tonight. If you're struggling and you need some advice, and maybe you just want to get drunk with a bottle of wine, this girl is here to help you.
I just want to let you all know that if you need to talk, I will be available to talk. If you want to talk to other family members or anything, have a bottle of wine, an entire bottle of wine. It's okay. Having ice cream. Just talk to someone. Get out your coping skills, anything like that. If you want to not talk to friends or family, there is also, if you need, the crisis number, which is 988. Everyone is struggling, and I hope that somehow, eventually, we can all, I don't know what to say, right, but I can't really say to get better because it's not, it's gonna be hard. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. We all failed you.
What's that?